Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back and thank you for supporting me. I'm Coretta. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I created an embroidery and scattered rhinestone design using BX embroidery fonts. Come on y'all, let's get started. For this project, I will be using a t-shirt, SS10 rhinestones, embroidery thread, embroidery scissors, cutaway stabilizer. I will be using rhinestone flock, rhinestone Hotfix transfer tape. I will be using an edge brush to brush the rhinestones in and a wax pen to assist me with putting rhinestones in the circles that did not get a rhinestone. I will leave a list of these items in the description of this video. Here in Embrillance, I am using Stitch Artist Level 3. If you only have Level 2, then check out my other video to show you the workaround. Also, because I'm using a single needle machine with a maximum hoop of 5x7, I will be using my repositional hoop that lets me embroider with a 5x12 hoop. The first thing I'm going to do is add my text. To add my text, I am going to go to the top toolbar and I'm going to select Create Letters, which is the letter A icon. When the font ABC shows up, then I am going to go to the bottom right on the Properties panel, and on the Properties panel where it says Text, I'm going to highlight the ABC and I'm going to type the text that I want. And I'm going to hit enter. Then just below that, I am going to select the drop down menu and I'm going to select my font. These are BX fonts that I purchased from Etsy. So the fonts that I'm going to use in this video are fonts that I purchased from Etsy. So I'll leave a link to the fonts in the description of the video. So I'm going to select, the first font I'm going to select is this Florence font, and I'm going to select the 1-inch font. I'm going to position the text in the area where I want it. So with it selected, I'm just going to move it up over here real quick. I'm going to select Create Letters again. And on the Properties panel in the text box, I'm going to type the ampersand sign, hit enter. And I'm going to change this font to P Sans. It's Sans, P-I Sans, and I'm going to use the 1-inch font here as well. I am going to position this in the area where I want it, and then I'm going to select Create Letters again. And on the Properties panel on the right, I'm going to type my next word and hit enter. I am going to change this font to a Sophie font, and I am going to change this one to the Sophie font, and I'm going to use the 2-inch font. I'm going to select Create Letters one more time to add my last word and hit enter. And I'm going to change this to the Florence 1-inch font here as well. And I'm going to position it in the area where I think I want it. As you can see, I need to adjust the spacing for the word wonderfully. I'm going to select the word, and then on the Properties panel on the right, to change the spacing, I'm going to use the slider bar where it says space. I'm just going to use the slider bar to move the letters a little bit closer to each other until they're just about touching. So I like that. I have most of the letters touching each other, but I still need to move the F over, this L, and this Y. So I'm going to manually move it. And to manually move the F, I am going to make sure that the whole word is selected. Then I'm going to select the green square for the F. And so with the F selected, you're going to see a green square with an arrow going up and an arrow going down. So once you see that, then you know you have your F selected. So with the F selected, I'm going to hold down the control key because I want to move all of these letters at the same time. I want to move them all over at the same time. So with the F selected, I'm going to hold my control key and I'm going to select the U, this L, the next L, and the Y. And on my keyboard, I am going to use the arrow keys to move the letters over until the F is touching the R, like that. Then I am going to select the L, and I'm going to hold my control key and select the Y. And now I'm going to use the arrow key to move that over as well to where I want it. And finally, I'm going to select the Y, and I am going to use the arrow key to move the Y over to where I want it. And once everything is where I want it, I'm just going to hit select anywhere on the canvas to unselect that word. Next, I want to size all of the words by using the corner handles and then positioning them where I want them in terms of my design. Remember, you cannot change the size of BX fonts too much because then it will change the stitches. Now that I have the words positioned how I want it, now I'm going to size the entire design. So to size the entire design, I am going to go over to the Objects panel and I'm going to select the entire design. So I'm just going to highlight all of the layers. And then on the top toolbar, I'm going to go up to Select to make sure that the Select object is on, and that is that arrow icon. To the left, on the tool pane here to the left, I am going to unlock the scale proportionately, and then I'm going to change my width to 9 and hit enter, and I'm going to change my height to 4.5 and hit enter. With the design still selected, I am going to make sure that the design is centered in my hoop. So on the top menu, I am going to select Utility and then Center in Hoop. Now that I have my design, I am going to create the SVG that I am going to use to create the rhinestone template. To create the SVG, I am going to select the Create Design icon, and it is the fourth icon from the right, just in case. Then on the Objects panel on the right, the top right is the Objects panel. I am going to select the entire design again. Then I'm going to go up to the tool pane under Path, and I am going to select Create an Outline from the stitches on this page. This is the fourth icon on the top row of the Path section. This is the outline that was created, And so with the outline still selected, I'm going to go to the top menu and I'm going to select File, and I'm going to select Export Outline. I am going to name my file, and I am going to name the file, and I'm going to also include the measurements of the file. I'm going to make sure that it is the Save As type is a scalable vector graphics, which is SVG. And then I'm going to select Save. I'm going to keep the DPI at 72, and I'm going to select OK. Once I save the outline as an SVG, I am going to use the keyboard and I am going to select Delete. Then I'm going to save my embroidery design. To save the embroidery design, I am going to go to File on the top menu. I am going to select Save As Stitch and Working File. I am going to name the file. And I am going to make sure that hold on, I'm gonna add this part to it. And I'm going to make sure that the Save As type is a PES, because that is the Save As type for my embroidery machine. The file type should be the file type for your embroidery machine. And I'm going to select Save. Here in Silhouette Studio Business Edition, I am going to create the rhinestone template for my embroidery design. So I'm going to add the embroidery design SVG to the canvas. And to add the SVG, I'm going to go to the top menu and I'm going to select File. And I am going to select Merge. I am going to navigate to the location of the file and I am going to select the SVG that I created and I'm going to select OK. Once the design is on the canvas, I am going to select the entire design. I'm going to go to the top menu and select Object and Group. So that you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to make sure that the entire design is selected. Then I'm going to select the fill panel on the right toolbar and it looks like a paint palette. I'm going to select black. Next, I am going to change the line color. So making sure that the design is still selected. Then on the right toolbar, I'm going to select the line style panel and it is the icon that has the 3 lines. I'm going to select the second icon, which is line color. And then I'm going to select none, which is the square with the X in it. Now I'm going to size the design to the same size as my embroidery design, which is 9 inches in width and 4.5 inches in height. To size, I'm going to make sure that the entire design is selected. And on the top menu, on the top toolbar under size, I am going to unlock the aspect ratio. I'm going to change my width to 9, hit enter, and change my height to 4.5 and hit enter. With the design sized, I am going to begin adding the scattered rhinestone effect. To begin, I'm going to again make sure that the entire design is selected. On the right toolbar, I'm going to select offset, and it is the icon that looks like a star. I'm going to select offset. I'm going to change my distance to 0.155 and hit enter. This distance is always going to depend on how close you want your rhinestones to be to your embroidery design. So after I change my distance, I am going to select apply. I am going to change the color of the offset to red. So with the offset still selected, I am going to select the fill panel, change it to red. I'm going to change the line color to none. Now I'm going to convert the offset to rhinestones. To convert to rhinestones, I am going to open up the rhinestone panel by selecting panels on the top menu, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to select rhinestones. On the rhinestone panel, there are 4 rhinestone effects. There's none, edge, linear, and radial. There are 4 rhinestone sizes, and also there is a rhinestone spacing, and this determines the space that you want in between your rhinestones. There is freehand, where you can draw your own rhinestones, and then there is release rhinestones, and this will ungroup your rhinestones and make each one of them individual circles. And here at the bottom is the rhinestone counter, which tells you how many rhinestones are in your design. So to convert, I'm going to make sure that the offset is selected, and then on the rhinestone panel, I am going to select the edge rhinestone effect. I'm going to select 10SS as my rhinestone size, and I'm going to change my spacing to 0.017 and hit enter. Okay, so let me zoom in just a little bit, and so we can see a little better. So with the first offset still selected, I am going to add another offset. So I'm going to select the offset panel, and then I'm going to select offset. I'm going to keep the distance at 0.155, and I'm going to select apply. I'm going to change the color to red. Let me move this over here first. So I'm going to put the offset panel here. I'm going to change my color to red. I'm going to change my line style to none. And on the rhinestone panel, I'm going to select the edge here, and I'm going to select 10SS, and I'm going to change my spacing to 0.100 and hit enter. I am going to undock the rhinestone panel real quick so that it doesn't keep going away. So I'm going to undock that. By moving it is how you undock it. So with the second rhinestone offset still selected, I'm going to go on to the offset panel, and I'm going to select offset. I'm going to keep my distance at 0.155. I'm going to select apply. I'm going to change the color to red. I'm going to change my line style color to none. I'm going to X out of that. And on the rhinestone panel, I'm going to make sure it's on edge 10SS, and then I want to change my spacing to 0.200 and hit enter. With the third rhinestone offset still selected, I am going to go onto the offset panel. I'm going to select offset. I'm going to keep my distance at 0.155. I'm going to select apply. I'm going to change the color to red, my line style to none, and on the rhinestone panel, sorry guys, on the rhinestone panel, I am going to again make sure it's on edge 10SS, and I'm going to change my spacing to 0.300 and hit enter. With the fourth rhinestone effect still selected, I'm going to select offset on the offset panel. I'm going to keep the distance at 0.155 and select apply. I'm going to change the color to red, the line style to none, and then I'm going to go to the rhinestone panel and I'm going to select edge 10SS, and I'm going to change my spacing to 0.400 and hit enter. I am going to add one more offset. So with the fifth rhinestone offset still selected, I am going to go onto the offset panel and select offset, keeping the distance at 0.155. I'm going to select apply. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to turn the color to red. I'm going to change the line style to none. On the rhinestone panel, I want edge, I want 10SS, and I'm going to change my spacing to 0.500 and hit enter. Now that I've added my layers, I am going to move the text out of the way. So first, I'm just going to close these out right here. Close that one out because I still need this one. I'm going to move the text out of the way. So I'm going to bring this down here. And then I'm going to select all of the rhinestone layers. So you can see all of the layers are selected. And on the rhinestone panel, I'm going to select release rhinestones. Once the rhinestones are released, I am just going to check to see if any of the rhinestones are overlapping and to see if I want to fix any of the gaps that are here. So I'm just going to click off of here and I'm going to zoom in so that I can see all of the rhinestones. And I can see here, I want to delete these rhinestones here because it's just one little rhinestone right there. And I'm going to delete this rhinestone, and I'm just selecting it and hitting the delete on my keyboard. Let me zoom out again. Let's see. I'm going to add this back real quick so I can see if there's any other place that I want to delete. Okay. I'm going to delete this one right here. That's in between the E in made and the Y. I want to delete that one. And I'm just going to move the text out of the way again. I'm going to scroll up because in this area here, it looks like there are some rhinestones that are touching. So I'm going to zoom in up here. And I am going to choose to delete these rhinestones because they're the edge and I don't want to mess up the edge of the rhinestones because this is the area where the embroidery is going to go. And so I'm just going to hit delete on the ones that are touching and then maybe just move over a little bit the rhinestones that are on the other side. And the way that I moved it is I selected the rhinestone and I used the arrow key on the keyboard to move the rhinestones into the position that I wanted them in. I'm going to zoom out some more, and I'm going to place the words back into the rhinestone design here. And again, I can still see that there are some rhinestones that are touching, and I'm just going to select the rhinestones and I'm going to delete that rhinestone from there. And let me try to move that one over. So I'm also using the mouse to also move rhinestones over so that they don't overlap each other. So I'm going to put that one right there like that. But I want to add some rhinestones inside the W here because there are rhinestones inside of the D and rhinestones inside of the two L's, and there are rhinestones inside of the Y. So I'm going to add some rhinestones in here as well. To add rhinestones, I'm going to select a rhinestone. I'm going to hold down my Alt key, and you're going to get a plus sign with an arrow, and I'm just going to drag a rhinestone out of that rhinestone. And I'm just going to repeat the process until I get the amount of rhinestones that I want for this space here. And I am good with that spacing right there. So once I'm finished making all of the adjustments for my design, I am going to move out the text again. So move the text here, and then I am going to, hold on, I think I want to delete that one right there as well. I'm going to select all of the rhinestones, and on the top menu I'm going to select Object and then Group. Now I'm going to save the design as an SVG so that I can upload the rhinestone template into Cricut Design Space to get it cut. To save the rhinestone template as an SVG, I am going to select the entire rhinestone design, and I'm going to go to the top menu. I'm going to select Object and I'm going to select Group. And then I'm going to make sure that the entire design is selected. And then I'm going to go up to Object and I'm going to select Make a Compound Path. If the color leaves, then you just change the color back. So I'm going to go to the Fill panel, select Red, go to Line Style, and select None. Then I'm going to make sure the entire design is still selected. I'm going to go to the top menu. I'm going to select File. I'm going to select Save Selection, Save to Hard Drive. I am going to name my file. I'm going to change the Save As type to SVG, and then I'm going to select OK. So now I am going to hoop my shirt, and I am going to be hooping my t-shirt with 2 pieces of cutaway stabilizer. I am going to be using my 5x12 repositional hoop. When I am hooping my t-shirt, I am going to make sure that I take into consideration that I will be adding rhinestones. So I'm going to get the design embroidered onto the t-shirt, and I'm going to brush the rhinestones in. I will come back to show me adding the rhinestones to the embroidered t-shirt. If you want to know how to cut rhinestone templates out, check out my rhinestone tutorial playlist. I will leave the link to the playlist in the description of this video. Alright guys, the embroidery is finished, so now let's add the rhinestones. Okay y'all, it looks like it fits. I am going to press it and then I'm going to come back and reveal it. All right, guys, let's see what it looks like. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. It is beautiful. Wow, look at that. Guys. That is beautiful. I love it. Oh my God, that's so pretty. All right. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. I think this is beautiful. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. All right, guys, that's all for now. I hope that you're able to follow along with my process. If you like this video and would like to see more, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and consider subscribing to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a video. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will respond back. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.